Take a look around you. The average man is obese, barely moves, and for the first time in decades, life expectancy in developed countries is declining. You'd do anything for your family, you'd even sacrifice yourself and die for them. But would you clean up your diet, drop some body fat, and even walk more? Because by not doing these things, you are slowly killing yourself. So in this video, I'm going to help you flip the script and give you the 5 habits you need in order to take control of your health and body so that it works for you, not against you, even if you're extremely busy. And no, just having more discipline isn't one of those. It can be so easy to ignore the signs and justify the extra pounds and poor lifestyle to yourself because of work, travel, family, and a shopping list of other obligations. Living this way feels normal. You get caught up in it. Before you know, you're no longer 25, your knees start to hurt, your hair grays, and every annual bonus seems to come with another inch on the waistline. Everyone else is rowing in the same boat, so it can't be that bad, right? Not so quick. Science shows that your excess body fat contributes to your poor sleep, lack of focus, lower testosterone, and significantly decreases your time on this earth, up to 14 years at the extreme end. Like many, you've probably poured so much into your career and personal life that you didn't even notice the weight creep until one day the button on the shirt just wouldn't close, and that's when you had your wake-up call. Or maybe you had a trip to the doctor's office and the latest blood test confirmed that those years of late nights of pizza and beer were slowly adding up. It might not be your fault. I mean, it's more common nowadays to be unhealthy than healthy, but it is your responsibility. Now, I've created this framework from helping hundreds of busy men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s sustain fat loss in combination with everything I've learned from doing a master's and now a doctorate in human performance. If you can implement this framework, I guarantee that in the next 6 to 12 months, your life will look completely different. Every day that passes where you remain stagnant only builds up proof in your mind that you'll never change, and most likely you'll regress, so you need to take action today, which leads me to habit number 1, planning. As the classic saying goes, fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. You need to know exactly where you are and an idea of where you're going. You wouldn't have a sales forecast in your business just to make more money. It would be very specific with clear deals and customers that you're planning to close. At the same time, it should be true with your physique and your health. Without a clear plan, there's no way of knowing exactly if you're making progress or you're not. You're not going to just magically wake up one day 40 pounds lighter. You need a step-by-step strategy to get there. So I've created this free tool that will give you a very good estimate on exactly how much weight you need to lose to get to your ideal body fat. The link is in the description. Now, planning goes beyond working out what weights and milestones you need to hit. That's the easy part. More importantly, it involves buying the right groceries, preparing healthy food, eating the healthy food, doing the dishes, getting your workouts and movement in, and so on. The list of inputs required to hit your fat loss goals is quite big and can be really overwhelming. Most people fail to consistently change not because of a lack of willpower and motivation, because they bite off way more than they can chew. So initially, you need to eliminate all distractions and delusions of being perfect and focus on what I call the MVS, minimal viable strategy, which is the smallest effort you can put into executing a strategic plan necessary to achieve your goal. Setting yourself up with this MVS makes it more difficult to fail than to succeed. That might mean putting an hour in your calendar every day to go for a walk, ordering groceries online rather than going to the store, signing up for a meal prep service that delivers all of your meals, or even hiring someone to come to your house and cook for you once or twice a week. It could even mean that you rotate between the same 5 to 6 meals over and over again for the sake of simplicity. The key here is building up the habit muscle, and then you can change things over time. You optimize first for consistency, and then second, you optimize for intensity. But you also need to think of it like learning a skill. Think of health and fitness like learning how to play guitar. You don't get better at the guitar by being consistent, you get better by practice. And you wouldn't be expecting to be able to play Stairway to Heaven on the first time you pick up the guitar, so don't expect yourself to be able to have all your health and fitness figured out from day one either. Which leads me to the second point, reflection. This is where so many people fail because it's uncomfortable. How many times has telling yourself that you need more motivation or more discipline actually worked out for you? Probably none, because it doesn't give you a clear strategy. If you can't implement the MVS, the minimal viable strategy, you need to reflect on where you're going wrong so that you can course correct. It's easy to bury your head in the sand and tell yourself that you've been too busy or that you'll do better next week, but this isn't going to get you anywhere. This is simply an avoidance strategy because you're lacking the courage to face your failures. It's self-neglect. It's the same as staying in a job that you hate for fear of the conversation with your boss, or avoiding going to the hospital when you have consistent chest pain because you say you're stubborn. What it really is a lack of coping skills and the fear of not living up to your expectations. Treat yourself like an employee with a weekly one-to-one. Block some time in your calendar, look back at the week, compare your progress with your objective, and see where you might have had gaps. Do it in a non-judgmental way, as if you were speaking to somebody else. The plan that you set out on day one is never going to be perfect, and beating yourself up for not sticking to it 100% is not going to help. This is essentially what I do with my clients. The issue isn't them not knowing what to do, it's knowing how to do it consistently and implement it and course correct when they don't do it. You really need a root analysis in the reflections. Instead of saying, I ate the pizza on Tuesday, I won't do it again, you need to ask yourself, why did I eat it? Was it an emotional response, a lack of planning, a poor environment? Then when you have a clearer answer, you'll be able to have a clearer plan moving forward. In these reflections, I'd also recommend that you review all of your quantitative data, which leads me to the next point, tracking. What gets measured gets managed, and there are 4 key areas you need to track: your weight, your food intake, your training, and your activity. Most people are decent with tracking their body weight, but pretty brutal with the other things. Eating healthy and eating a caloric deficit are not mutually inclusive. If you're 300 pounds and your diet consists of big gulps, ice cream and KFC, cleaning up your diet will do wonders and shed off the weight initially, but that strategy is not going to work forever. And once you start tracking your food and intake, you'll realize all of the hidden calories you consume, such as the extra oils, sauces, creamers, and condiments. Yes, over 100 years ago, people lost weight without tracking their nutrition, but they also had little to no access to fast food, worked manual jobs, and didn't sit at a desk all day. Same goes for activity. I honestly don't know anyone who's maintained under 20% body fat that doesn't get at least 10,000 steps per day. Any sort of pedometer works. It doesn't have to be an Apple Watch or a Garmin. In fact, my client Ian here went from 240 pounds to 175, and all he did was bought a pedometer on Amazon and clipped it onto his waist every day. He just tracked the 4 metrics I mentioned, and now he maintains 12 to 14% body fat year round. The next habit is dealing with failure, because it is bound to happen. Think about it this way. You've already had a good enough plan multiple times over, but the reality is when you hit a roadblock, gained a few pounds back, you gave up and blamed something external. And that's the only way to guarantee that you won't succeed: giving up. It's not the good days that define your results, it's the bad days and how you deal with them, because most progress is lost when one slip up is allowed to escalate. A cheat meal turns into a cheat day, and then a cheat day turns into a cheat week. You gain tons of water weight, feel like you've lost all your progress, you can't deal with the disappointment and frustration, and then you pack it in. A simple rule to overcome this black or white or perfectionist thinking is to simply never miss 2 days in a row. Life happens, you get stuck in an airport, you're out for a birthday party or client meetings. You're not always going to be perfect. You'll miss workouts, you'll eat some bad food, but having the rule of not screwing up 2 days in a row allows for some flexibility while also keeping you moving forward. Expecting that you'll always be perfect is like expecting the stock market always goes up every single day. Think about it this way: over the past 30 years, if you were fully invested in the S&P 500, you'd make an annual return of about 9%. But if you missed just the best 50 days across those 30 years, you'd have actually lost money on your initial investment. This is why just being in the game is important. Constantly starting and stopping your fitness journey in the hopes that there's never going to be any setbacks is like trying to time the stock market, and those people get absolutely wrecked. This leads me to the final habit, which is make your good and bad days more similar to one another. Most people are impatient, so they jack up the effort, they try speed up the goal, but invariably go too far and rebound. The less different from normal you can make the process, the easier it will be. Then over time, your new normal upgrades. Instead of trying to improve your good days and make them even more strict, look at your worst days and make them less bad. When I ask people who are struggling to lose fat about their diets, they always tell me how good their diet is on the good days, but they forget the beers, cakes, burgers, and pizzas on the weekend. Losing fat isn't a game of intensity, it's one of consistency and practice. So stop the 75 hard and the crazy extreme diets and cardio protocols and hone in on those days that do seem to trip you up. This year, be ruthless with your health. You only have one body and one life. Every day you're getting older and it gets that little bit more difficult. Change is harder than you think, it takes longer than you think, and it will have more cost than you think, but I genuinely believe that everybody can improve their health. And if you want some support from me along the way, then check out the link below this video.